This is the Engage Your Destiny podcast, where your destiny is our mission. Serving our active military, veterans, and families. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Engage Your Destiny podcast. Ben Peterson here, CEO and founder of Engage Your Destiny. I am so excited to be with you again this week as we are telling veteran stories and how Jesus made an impact in the veteran's life. And so today we have Ricky Herrera, and man, this is going to be fire. So dude, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
I really appreciate you coming and taking time and being with us. So to do a quick bio here, we've got Ricky Herrera. You were born in Brownsville, Texas.
Yep.
You're a former firefighter, EMT. You did 24 years in the Air Force as a combat controller, which is like special forces for the Air Force. Mm-hmm. You worked in Secret Service. You currently have 6 nonprofits that you are working with, helping, leading, consulting. You have 5 organizations that you professionally work with and consult. You've been married for 28 years to Susan.
Yep.
And you have 1 child, Noah, who is currently in the EOD program for which branch?
The Air Force.
For the Air Force.
Yes.
Sticking with the Air Force.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, dude, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you
wonderful
here.
to be here, and very proud of what you're doing. This is awesome.
Amen. Well, dude, let's start at the beginning. You're a Texas boy, grew up in Brownsville. That's pretty close to the border. Am I correct?
Very close to the border. It is just north of Matamoros, Mexico.
Wow.
And back when I was born there, not much to say about the town. There was a lot of struggle in the town, but today it is absolutely, it's thriving, and it's very controversial at the same time.
Right.
Thriving because of SpaceX and Elon Musk and the new launch station they have out there.
Jeez.
And I'm sure they do recovery out there as well. But
How far is Brownsville from where they do the launches?
it's very close. I would say it's within probably 30 minutes.
Jeez.
So very, very close. But on the other side of that coin, very controversial because of the whole border situation right now.
Yeah.
Like,
is that a city that a lot of illegal immigrants will kind of descend into, or?
it is a city that a lot of illegal immigrants, well before all the controversy in this administration, would cross at.
Wow. Okay.
So
So
it
kind of
is-
a crossing area.
Yeah,
Wow.
because it's close. It's very close.
Yeah. So tell me about your dad. Tell me about your family.
So
How you grew up.
let me see. My father was one of 13 children.
Wow.
And it was hard. It was a hard life for him. So I have 12 aunts and uncles, and I've got probably a
family.
million cousins. Big
Yeah.
family. One of the most awesome grandmothers in the world, and unfortunately, she and my grandfather divorced way back in the day. But man, he passed several years ago. He lived to be 104. My grandmother returned home. My father is currently at home.
Yeah, mine too.
And man, just an incredible family. But one, I'm sure, with 13 kiddos, one that was, it was a struggle.
Yeah. And
was a
where are
struggle.
you in the pecking order?
No, well, my father, the one of 13.
Oh, got it. So
Yeah.
your dad was one of 13.
My dad was one of 13.
And then how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I only have one brother.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Now, on my mother's side, she was one of 3, and man, they both grew up there in Brownsville, Texas. They met in high school. They married and had two awesome little boys, man.
That's great.
But that's where I'm from, Brownsville, Texas.
And as we were chatting before we, kind of hopped on here, there is this theme of your life that I think we're going to continue to see to bleed through our time together, and it's this heart of service.
Yeah.
And you were a volunteer, firefighter, UMT. But where did that really come from? Where like, dude, you felt like you needed to give something back and truly serve other people.
Man, taking a look back and rolling through, I don't know. I think I grew up as one of those kids that was just, man, floating in life. My father didn't make the best decisions in life. I told you, one of 13 was hard. Brownsville, Texas, back in the day was hard. So my father was an alcoholic. He was a drug addict.
What was he addicted to?
Marijuana, mainly. Like crazy times, crazy stories. He was the type of father that you loved because, man, he knew the Bible inside out, backwards and forwards. And he would disciple all the time, yet he lived a life that was very very opposite of what he should have lived. So
He's dealing with a lot of pain.
dealing with a lot of pain, I'm sure. I think we as people, the people we become is definitely, it's all structured from the way that we're raised and the things that happen to us when we're young. So I know that he probably dealt with a lot.
Yeah.
He probably dealt with a lot.
You found grace in your heart for him.
I did. I was there at his passing, and total forgiveness. Like, I love my father. I miss him. And there's not much I can say except that he taught me the type of man that I was not going to grow up to be.
Wow. How did you not live in judgment towards him because of him not living out who he was called to be? Because it seems like you found peace with him, right?
Yeah, there was a little bit of judgment. When he would, he'd be drunk or he'd be high and he would be preaching the Bible to me. It'd be like, okay, well, this doesn't fit. This doesn't resonate. And that was me as a young man. And I will tell you, as we grow older, we get wiser, we get more mature.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I didn't have the wisdom or maturity to completely understand, where he was at, where he was coming from.
Yeah.
I was just a young kid growing up for a little bit in Brownsville, then Corpus Christi, then in Houston. My mother ended up leaving my father because it was an incredibly abusive relationship. But man, I didn't have the wisdom then as a young man. I was just floating, and I was with everything that happened.
Yeah.
It was designing the person that I would become. And it has designed the person that I am today.
We're finding so much of how our history really helps kind of shape, who we are. There's so much of the nurturing, right,
Yep.
that helps us find our path in life. But it's amazing how you've gone through these challenges, but it still drove you to have a servant's heart.
It did.
And what was kind of the first experience you had of giving back or doing, or, was it becoming a volunteer firefighter, or what was your first experience of service?
I think it was, I will say, on the other edge of the coin, seeing everything that my mother went through and seeing everything that she was doing to provide for two young men, two young boys. That may have been the catalyst for it, but truly, I think it was when I was surrounded by incredible people in an incredible community that, had professional careers, but were still volunteering their time to serve their community.
Wow. How old were you in the 7?
16 years old.
You're 16.
15 years old, 16 years old.
And where was that community? What
that was in League City, Texas.
Okay.
So a suburb of Houston. At the time, it was a 30,000 person community.
Yeah.
Today, it's about a 60+ thousand person community.
Doubled in size.
It's doubled in size. It's doubled in a lot of things except the infrastructure. The roads are still the roads.
Totally.
But the people that I met there, the people that I clung to there, that I learned from there, that mentored me, that took me under their wing, I think that's where that servant's heart came from.
Yeah.
That's where, and really it's a feeling. To do good for your community, to do good for other people that's addictive in itself.
Right.
It is. I want to continue to help. I want to continue to do great things for great people.
Wow.
And do good things for people that, don't have what we have right now.
That's amazing. Tell me about your process of joining the military. And you joined in 96, so this is before 9/11.
Joined in 95. Back in the day, and it's still true today, the Marine Corps has the greatest recruiters on the face of this planet.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, it's because they understand what a lot of people need and want.
Yeah, what they're desiring.
What they're desiring. And it's team, it's camaraderie, it's, for some people, and I think they can spot them, it's love.
Wow.
So Marine recruiters are stinking awesome. And that's why they hang out in high schools. And man, they meet their quotas. They meet their numbers. They are incredible salesmen.
Yeah.
And they almost had me. So they would come to the high school, and man, they would do workouts on the weekends, and it was cool. It was giving young men that didn't have and women, well, young men and women. There weren't a lot of women at the time that they were recruiting, but man, all the folks that they were bringing out were and collecting on the weekends to go work out and do push-ups and go running and do all these things to build camaraderie were all young men. So man, they nearly had me, but I had a friend that had gone into the Marine Corps, and I called him and I was like, "Hey, Ken, like, I'm thinking about going to the Marine Corps." He's like, "Don't you dare, don't do it."
Wow.
I'm like, okay, all right, I will not do that. So I looked at the Navy, and in the summer of '93, after graduating, I nearly went into the Navy.
Yeah.
And instead of going into the Navy, my friend Charles was working for a company called North American Van Lines, and I went to work with him for that summer and literally hit 36 out of the 50 continental United States.
Jeez.
So we were moving people from the East Coast to the West Coast and from the North to the South. So it was a very busy summer. And then I went back to Houston, went back to work, and I jumped into chemical plant construction.
Okay.
And worked around chemical plants, man, for 2 solid years in the blazing heat of Houston, 110 degrees with 100% humidity.
Jeez.
To the winters where they were 20 degrees outside and 100% humidity.
Yeah.
So bone chilling cold to super hot and sweaty. And anybody that's watching this that's from Houston or from that area
Gets it.
They completely understand.
Yep.
You take a shower in the morning, you get all dolled up, ready to go to work. From the car or from your home to the car, you're sweating bullets.
Jeez.
Already. Like it's bad.
Yeah.
But did that, and my epiphany moment that helped me decide that, hey, I wanted something different was one of the winters, and I think it was the winter of 90. I think it was 94, transitioning into 1995 when I actually decided to go in. But the winter of 94, and man, I was working in Texas City.
Yeah.
And it was cold. It was bitterly cold.
Yeah.
And I was out there hanging steel, and I was working alongside 60-year-old guys and 50-year-old guys, and I was like, man, I don't want to do this my entire
I don't want to
career.
become them.
There's more for me to do. I can contribute more to the world. So I went and talked to some recruiters. I looked at the Army. And then I looked at the Air Force, and it was when I saw this Air Force pamphlet with Chief Lyons sitting on the front of the pamphlet. He had his arms crossed, and he was surrounded by all of his equipment: dive gear, climbing gear, jump gear, Arctic gear, the kit, all of it. And it caught my eye.
And like all of these different opportunities of, well, if I need that, then I'm going to be doing this.
Yes.
Wow.
It was something that to a young man that played football, that ran track, that thought he wanted that camaraderie from the Marine Corps and the Navy, and enjoyed what he saw with the Army. It was something I was yearning for, something I was looking for. And they had 2 career fields that they were boasting, that the Air Force was boasting. It was pararescue and combat control. Jeez. And I will tell you, the recruiter, he G-tepped me. He guaranteed me combat control. He was like, hey, because you were a volunteer firefighter and you were a volunteer EMT, when you get to basic, like, you can tell them you want to switch. Well, that wasn't the case.
You never did pararescue.
I did not do pararescue. I did combat control. So
God bless all the recruiters out there who lie to us, but get us to do things we never thought we could do.
Yeah, I will tell you, like, it's this life we live, this timeline we're on, it is not ours.
Right.
Right. This is by God's grace, I made it through the 2.5 years of training.
So 2.5 years to become a combat controller.
2.5 pretty brutal years, yeah.
And tell me about kind of the progression. Like, where do you, obviously you have to start in a basic training.
You start in basic.
And was that in Texas as well?
In Texas.
Yep. Lackland?
Lackland Air Force Base.
Okay, so you go to Lackland.
Yep.
How long was that?
Basic was only, God, I think it's only like, it was so long ago, and my son just went through, I think 4 months,
Yep.
I think,
Yeah.
16 weeks. And back in the day, once I finished that, I immediately went into the pipeline or
Yep.
or selection.
Yes.
At the time, it was called the OLH.
Yep.
Operation Location Hotel.
And how long was selection?
Oh, gosh. For me, an additional 16 weeks.
Wow.
Plus a little bit of prep time. So it was a little while. Call it 20 weeks.
Jeez.
It was prep leading up to the team starting. So, man, prepping all my equipment, learning all the ins and outs, learning the I's and the T's that needed to be crossed and dotted. Just really learning the protocols.
And are they trying to get rid of you at this point? Are they making your life hard?
Not yet.
Got it.
Not yet.
This is all the prep.
This is all prep.
Okay. Because typically, before Ranger School, or like Navy SEAL, they're trying to get rid of you before. So this is, we haven't hit the get rid of you point.
No, not by any means. This was all literally just, hey, get ready, because it's about to happen.
Wow.
It's much different than what's taking place today. Much different.
So what was the first day that you're like, this is happening? This is going down. They are trying to make my life as hard as humanly possible. Paint me the picture.
Knowing that I was coming into these jobs, I did a little bit of prep.
Yeah.
But man, how do you prep for the unknown?
Yep.
You really don't. Because back in the day, we didn't have YouTube. There wasn't the One's Ready podcast. There wasn't anything that you could look at to go, okay, how do I prepare for this?
Yeah.
You just had to go and you had to do.
Yeah.
So the day that I knew that, oh man, like I'm here and this is getting hard, was probably cycling through, because they cycle everything up. You know, they're never going to throw you immediately into the deep end. They're going to build you a little bit.
Yeah.
But man, probably the first time that I was like, oh, this is real, were the underwaters. When we were doing underwaters at a crazy short interval.
Wow.
You work up to underwaters at a minute 30 interval, which means they say go, they start the watch. You have to swim down
and
underwater.
Do you have gear on? Or are you in a swimming suit?
At this time, no. It's you've got a t-shirt on and you've got shorts on.
Got it. So you're swimming underwater for a minute and 30 seconds.
Well, you're getting down and coming back, and when that stopwatch hits a minute 30, you're going again.
Wow.
So you work up to that, obviously. I think they start you at a 3 minute. They don't want you to quit immediately.
Yeah.
But they want to start to weed out some of the weaker candidates. So just that initial part, that was the first day for me when it started getting, hard. The interval started getting shorter.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, this is real.
So you would pop up and get a breath.
No.
Help me understand.
Okay, so underwater. So you leave the wall.
Go.
You go
Clock's
underwater.
ticking.
You touch the crack at the bottom of the deep end.
Yep.
And then you push up to the top.
Got it.
And you swim back. Sorry. Yeah. So they're 25-meter underwaters.
Got it. So you swim underwater to the other end, and then you got to swim back.
You touch the crack at the bottom.
Yep.
You push up. You kick up, and then
Get a breath.
swim back. Yep. And then you swim back on the surface. But all of that is in a minute and 30.
Wow.
And the whole thing, water is the ultimate equalizer
It's
for
the great
all the surfaces.
equalizer, man.
The ultimate. And simply because it's the only thing and it's the closest thing I think they can do to literally killing you. It's the closest thing, the closest they can get you to really challenging yourself, because it takes you to such a mental space,
And how many times would they do that?
We would do, depending on the instructors. Now, that was back in the day, so it was whatever the instructor wanted to do. I'm sure they had their protocols. Much different today.
Yeah.
They are on a no kidding. Hey, the schedule calls for 8, so we're only going to do 8.
Because people have died.
People have died.
Yeah.
People have passed out. I've had 2 shallow water blackout incidents. Like
Wow.
it was interesting.
So you were swimming. You were doing what was asked of you.
I was doing a task.
Yep. And you blacked out.
And I blacked out.
So you went to the point of your body hitting muscle oxygen failure to complete the task, and then they had to revive you.
They had to pull me out of the water and pull me up, slap me around a little bit and go, "Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm fine." "Do you want to continue training?" "Absolutely. I want to continue training." Because the alternative is, hey, you're gone.
Wow.
So, like, it's an awakening experience.
Was there ever the treading water in gear experience?
We did that as well, and that was interesting, but different rules for that one. For us, I will tell you what is it? There was a great documentary on, I don't know if it's TLC or one of those stations, but it goes through the training.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, it's all difficult. It's all very difficult. There are even collegiate swimmers that come through that have a difficult time.
Yeah.
So it's not about what you can do physically.
Yeah.
It's where you're at mentally. It is the most mental game you will ever be asked to play.
Do you think you had to overcome, because of, growing up with a dad, all those issues, alcoholism?
Yep.
Do you think that made it more difficult to go through the training and overcome those mental hurdles, or do you think you were more prepped for it because of those?
I think it preps you more.
Yeah.
I think
You're not as shocked.
Yeah, the people that know hardships, like real hardship,
Yeah.
that don't have any other choice, that don't, or what I'll say here's how I'll put it. Those folks that have never known hardship,
Yeah.
when they get put in situations like that where they're challenged hard, it's difficult to find that place to go, to grab the grit,
Yeah.
to go, hey, I can accomplish this. It's very difficult. Man, I will tell you, growing up, and I talk with my friends about this sometimes, growing up and having a bread sandwich or a ketchup sandwich, or if we had enough funds, having a sugar sandwich. Like,
Wow.
that was part of the life I lived growing up. My parents did their best. My mom worked like 3 different jobs.
Yeah.
But there were times where it wasn't enough. So those hardships help you realize that, man, if you want to truly escape this,
Yeah.
you have to dig. You have to dig deep.
I see it across the board, because this is a lot of the work that we do in the military, and I see people who come from really good homes able to be so resilient because they've been built up and strengthened and not had to worry about all these other things, right?
Yep.
Then I've seen people come from horrible homes that it's made them more resilient, and then the hardships, they have a deeper place that they can go, that they're driving from,
Yes.
right? And then I also see people that come from terrible homes where, like, they don't have any of the emotional skills to overcome, and it's just like, it's kind of just, it's life is selection, right?
It really is.
And I mean, no one wants to put their children in a situation where they're wondering where the next meal is going to come from. But it's also up to the parent, if you're going to provide an emotionally healthy home, how am I going to push my kid to be resilient?
Your key word, or the key word that you just mentioned, is parent.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is missing in a lot of today.
Yeah.
Like, parents don't parent. They don't have the time to parent.
Well, they don't make the time.
They don't make the time to parent.
Yeah.
I will tell you, with our son, and man, we'll get into my wife here in a moment, but man, she, with me being away as much as I was, she was the reason our son is so successful.
Wow.
Like, granted, she did it, or she was able to spend that time with him because she's got a chronic nerve disorder, and it forced her to retire early from the Air Force. But man, like I said earlier, this is all God's plan. This is all God's timeline. So with her, and with this disease that she has, it enabled her to, man, for his entire life until he left, she was the primary person there to raise him while I was gone. And when I was gone, I was gone. Like, there were years where I was gone 270 to 300 days out of the year, and it was
With the Air Force.
with the Air Force. Yeah, on alert, on deployment, on alert, on deployment. And I'd be back for a few months to take care of this or that. So, man, she's the reason that he is so successful. But man, parenting. Had my parents been better parents, I don't know where I'd be today.
Right.
Right? Like, it's the things that I experienced, the things that I had to go through, that put me where I am at today. And the things, those same things are really the reason that I'm as situationally aware today.
Yeah.
With everything. The politics of our country, the demographics of our country, the the culture of our country.
Yeah.
It's something that I stay really attuned to.
Roger. So you are going through the stress tests,
Yep.
the experience, and you become a combat controller.
After 2.5 years, yes. Wow. After 2.5 years of back-to-back schools.
What, was there ever a point where it was so demanding that you questioned, can I get through this?
There were times underwater when I questioned, can I get through this?
Underwater, the great equalizer.
The great equalizer. There were times when I was underwater where I was like, man, it would be so easy to just stop doing what I'm doing right now. Firefighting wouldn't be a bad job.
Yeah.
I'd go be a firefighter. That'd be cool. But man, there was something in me, that fire in me that said no. Like, you're not quitting.
Keep going.
You're not quitting. Keep going.
So when did you get to your team?
So I got to my first team in the summer of 97.
Okay.
Summer of 97. En route to my first team, my wife and I, who I met at air traffic control school.
Yeah. So she was in the military.
She was in the military.
Wow.
Yep. We met at Keesler Air Force Base.
Okay.
So she was in the military. Between me leaving combat control school in North Carolina and going all the way up to Washington State, we got married.
Wow. Tell me about the first time you saw her.
The first time I saw her was, in the PX in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Okay.
And she was in there, and cocky little Ricky was like, "Hey, here's my number."
Who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was rather interesting. Rather interesting.
When did you know you were going to marry her?
Man, I'll tell you. It wasn't until I think she came down and visited while I was at combat control school.
Okay.
And I think that's really when
She came down to see you?
Yeah.
You're in the thick of it?
Yep.
Seemed like a great supporter?
Yep.
Okay.
Incredible supporter, and to this day still is.
Wow. Okay. So you got married.
Yep.
You are 21.
21. Yes.
You're just getting to your team.
Yep.
And was there an initiation? Was there what's it like being the rookie in the controller teams?
Being the rookie, arriving with other rookies kind of helps to kind of thwart some of that,
Okay.
some of the new guy stuff, the greenhorn stuff.
Yeah.
So immediately, and this is all pre 9/11. So man, we weren't doing anything. We were doing drop zones, landing zones.
You're just training.
Just training.
And what does a combat controller team look like?
So a combat control team looks like a lot of dudes like you and me, and probably a lot of the folks that are watching right now. Like great guys, all cut from the same cloth. All guys that made it through 2.5 years of really tough training. So that they want to be there. They know they want to be there.
Yeah.
It's an incredible team of just really physically gifted folks that are smart, that can think on their feet, that can make decisions in a moment.
Is it a team of 4, 8?
Back in the day, it was a solid team of I was on red team on my initial team, and we had probably a dozen dudes in the team.
A dozen in the team.
But the way that combat control works is that we are tactical enablers. So we can go out and get attached to any unit in the world,
Really?
Be it a coalition unit, one of the Five Eyes units, or another service. Working with the Marine Corps. I know if you go to combat control school today, they have a wall that is just strewn with guys that have silver stars. Like it's dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of guys with silver stars. And we've got guys with Air Force Crosses and a few with Medals of Honor. But if you look at that, that is the nature of who you're dealing with, the guys you're working with. Just really, really solid guys that can make decisions on the fly, and that understand, they are there for one purpose and one purpose only, to be a force multiplier and to keep their team alive.
And what does the leadership kind of structure look like? Do you have medic guys? Do you have are they all trigger pullers? Like, kind of, how does that breakdown work?
So combat controllers, you were in the Army, and you understand what a Pathfinder is.
Yep.
So if you were to take a Pathfinder and you You sprinkle in some air traffic control qualifications, and you sprinkle in some terminal attack control qualifications, and then you sprinkle in some soldiering qualifications. So shoot, move, communicate.
Yep.
That is what comprises a combat controller. Okay. So it is somebody that can, really do the job of like six people.
Wow.
Like they are probably the most informed people on the battlefield, simply because they're talking to the team leader or the ground force commander. They're talking with their team. They're observing everything that's going on, but at the same time, they're doing long haul comms back to headquarters. They're talking to the aircraft. They're
in communication with folks that are in the air.
Yes.
Wow.
Their situational awareness, or a combat controller's situational awareness on the battlefield, is second to none.
Very high.
Like, he knows more than the ground force commander, and that's why he is such an asset to that team, to that command and control element.
So where were you on 9/11?
On 9/11, that morning, my team and I from Washington State had driven to Yakima, Washington. We were going to do some terminal attack control, some CAS, close air support, with a squadron of A-10s. And that morning, as we were driving to range control, we got into range control, and on their television, we could see that there was an attack underway, or that a small plane had flown into the World Trade Center. And from there, as things were developing, it was really, really apparent that we are under attack. Yeah, this nation is under attack. So we immediately returned to base, and we went into force protection condition, whatever. Literally locked down the base, and our unit was responsible for just ensuring that our perimeter was safe and the base was secure. Yeah. So we contacted our neighbors, 1st Special Forces Group, and we contacted our other neighbors, 2nd Ranger Battalion. Wow. And just
stand by.
Went to work. Stand by.
And what was the first, coming out of 9/11, what was the first mission that you went on in relative to, Afghanistan, the war on terror,
Well, if I hadn't been hurt, I got hurt in Alaska.
Wow. What happened?
We were doing a night static line into one of the ranges there on Fort Richardson. Okay. And I was jump mastering the jump, and we were chasing snowmobile bundles out. So snowmobile bundles went, and I was the first person out, and my right leg got caught in my right riser and snapped my knee.
Wow. It
was 30 below zero. It was cold, and it was painful. And unfortunately, the team was able to proceed on with the mission. Yeah. I say unfortunately. I think it was a pretty brutal mission for them. Yeah. But I spent the rest of that time in the hospital, and then.
So you never even got out of the plane?
Oh, I got out of the plane. No, I got to the ground. It was horrible.
Oh my gosh.
There was a lot of snow. There was a nice ambulance ride to the hospital, and I spent the rest of the time in a billeting room ordering pizza for the next week while my team was and with a super fat and throbbing knee. Like, they couldn't do anything for it. Wow. So like you did back in the day, they gave me Motrin. They didn't tell me to rub any dirt on it. Yeah. But gave me Motrin and sent me on my way. Not much we can do for you.
And what had happened in your knee?
I had literally blown out my PCL.
Wow.
And I strained my MCL and strained my LCL. My ACL was still intact.
So you needed surgery?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How long did it take for you to get surgery?
Oh, God. Months. It took a few months to no kidding, get surgery.
Did you go back to training with your team?
No, I was in a little bit of a hold.
Yeah. So they did take care of you.
Yeah, they took care of me. Went to Bremerton, Washington, and the surgeons there fixed me up. Okay. But I will tell you, and for anybody listening, if they tried to graft your hamstring, say no.
Wow. Why? No. What does that mean?
They literally pull one of your muscle strands out of your hamstring to take the tendons that are on there and fix your own ligaments. They say it takes better than using a cadaver ligament, but it's also one of your muscle bands, one of your muscle fibers in there.
Did they do that to you?
Oh yeah. Wow. And the kooky thing And that's why, anybody that I know that gets injured, we have a discussion about, what their course of action is going to be. But if a surgeon team or if a doctor tells you the day of surgery that, hey, we're not going to do what we talked about, we're going to do this other thing, if you're okay with it. If they ask you that on the day of, run.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing.
Time to pause.
Time to pause. Take a tactical pause, and man,
Wow.
rethink it.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
So, so you were saying that you would have been going on a mission if you hadn't gotten hurt. So catch me up on that.
I got hurt. It put me in a little bit of a situation, and then I got orders. I got orders initially to Okinawa, Japan, and I turned those orders down. I didn't want to take my family over to Okinawa at the time. So when I did that, not a big deal. I think it was about a year later, I got orders to be an instructor at the Advanced Skills Training course in Hurlburt Field, which is now called Special Tactics Training Squadron, which is now it's not a full-time training squadron.
Okay.
We're making transitions in our career field. But I was an instructor there for 3 years. So from 2002 to 2005, I instructed there. So those opening volleys of the war, those opening moments of the war where, man, a lot of our we'll call them older guys, are heroes. So the Bart Deckers, the Cal Markhams, and the Dan Schillings, all those guys that were doing great things at the 724th or the 24th at the time.
Yeah.
They were all literally overseas doing God's work.
Wow.
Doing great things. And man, there's movies about all of them. The Horse Soldiers. There's a movie about John Chapman coming out. I won't say soon. They're still in talks with directors and primary actors. But man, all the folks that did great things, did them in those opening days of the war. So 2001, 2002, and beyond. When I wrapped up my instructor gig at AST in 2005. I had gone to screen for the 24th STS the year prior to me finishing up that tour.
Okay.
And the 24th STS is our Tier 1 component. It is a place where every young combat controller, pararescueman, TACP, special warfare, reconnaissance guy, or special reconnaissance guy, they all strive to be.
They want to be on that team.
They want to be on that team.
How many guys are on it?
I think that number is classified, but there's a good amount.
Yeah.
There's a good amount of dudes that are up there. It's a pretty decent size unit.
And when you say Tier 1, for those who don't know what that is, that's the top of the chain.
Pinnacle.
Yep.
That is the tip of the spear.
I think one of the biggest things I realized after reading some of these books like Fearless or Lone Survivor, stuff like that, is that there's like the Navy SEALs or like the Special Forces guys.
Yep.
And then there's like the Navy SEALs of the Navy SEALs, right?
Yeah.
So the Tier 1 programs, and that you can be some of the most elite in the world, and yet you're not the elite of the elites.
Correct.
Right? And
Correct.
that was a big revelation of, oh wow, there's even higher levels to go.
It is the NFL of the military.
Wow.
Right. It's where everyone strives to be. It's where that kid that's putting on shoulder pads and that helmet at 8 years old is hoping to one day be.
Yeah.
Right. So it was pretty awesome to be selected to go there.
So you did go.
Oh, I went. I spent 15 years there. It was awesome to be selected, and the training to get in there, man, it was another 10 months of, man, some of the most grueling training and awesome training that anybody will ever have in their careers.
Paint a picture for a grueling day and what you would have to do to get to the next level.
So there, they take you through all the different blocks. So, on Green Team or the operator training course, it's really preparing you to go to work with the tiers, with the sister services.
Yeah.
And man, you're always under a microscope. So while one thing isn't necessarily as hard as the other, the hard part is knowing that you're always being judged. You're always being observed. You're always being watched.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the number of psychologists that we have on staff, or that I'll say the DoD has on staff at those levels,
wow,
is huge, because they want to ensure that the person that they're investing in, because going through the training, all the equipment, Everything they're going to ask you to do, you're already a multi-million-dollar asset when you finish the 2.5 years of training and you're rolling into combat control. When you go there, stack another few million on it. Like the training is, man, it's second to none. It is tip of the spear training.
Wow.
So it's really awesome. So
and we're talking weapons training. We're talking
weapons training, driving training,
demolition stuff.
Everything. They're prepping you to go be, man, the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
Whatever your nation needs you to be, and that is the motto of the organization.
And like, let's say you were doing like room clearing or some level of tactical training. Would you be working in a team of 2, 4, 8, 12? What would that look like?
No. Like if you're doing room clearing, man, you're working with your team. So it'd be maybe a team of 6 dudes that are going in to do the room clearing. It could be 2, based on what they were trying to teach you.
Yeah.
But you were ultimately working up to a skill level where you would be value added. You would be able to contribute to one of the sister service teams.
Yeah. So you got through the 10 months, and you still haven't even been to combat yet.
I had pseudo gone to combat in 1999, but it was Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Got it.
I don't know that it was a deployment.
Yeah.
But it was Bosnia-Herzegovina. Like it was the Serbs against the Croatians.
Yeah.
And while horrible, when I got there, we were hunting down, who was it? Milosevic. We were hunting down war criminals.
Got it.
I was there as part of the JSOTF, the Joint Special Operations Task Force. So I was there working with coalition units. So teaching them how to do close air support, teaching them how to do call for fire, teaching them, just different things that would help increase their survivability.
Got it.
So that was my first deployment
To a combat zone. But then
afterwards,
you get to tier 1.
Yep.
And what was the first mobilization that you went on?
2006, I think. I graduated Green Team. So 2006 was my first role, and it was a role with our Navy counterparts, and it was good.
Wow. Where'd you go?
What's that?
Where'd you go?
We bounced back and forth for the next few years. It was a bounce back and forth between Afghanistan and Iraq.
Okay.
And man, it was fruitful. I mean, I was doing exactly what I was trained to do.
Wow.
What I was at that organization to do.
Which was to,
take bad guys off the face of the planet, arrange a meeting with them and their God, keep my brethren alive, and bring everybody home.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in for part 1 of Ricky Herrera's story. Don't miss next week. We're going to be getting into his work and the difference between warfare in Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as going deeper into his faith and how he got mobilized to work with Afghanistan allies that were trapped after the disastrous Afghanistan evacuation. So don't miss part 2. I'd like to invite you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast so we can take it all over the world. Also, I want to encourage you to get a copy of the Engage Your Destiny book, Practical Ways to Run After Your God-Given Purpose. I know that this will make a dramatic impact on your life. When you get one of these copies, you are supporting a soldier in the military, and you are helping put a copy in one of their hands. We've given over 1,000 copies away to soldiers, so don't miss on this opportunity to support the ministry. Thanks so much.